Hello guys, welcome to Daddy Share Space and welcome to another episode of Daddy Share Space Daily. So today I just want to touch on something that I was thinking about, and that's basically the idea that without DIY, I feel like it is almost impossible to stay out of debt. And let me explain. So everything that we purchase deteriorates or breaks, right? You can't eat food one time and never eat again. You're going to be hungry later that day or, the next day. You can't buy a car and it drives forever. You can't buy a house and it stays in pristine condition forever. Everything that we do has to be maintained. And if we look at just eating out at a restaurant, the prices of things can be so high that it's unsustainable. I mean, I remember going to a place like the International House of Pancakes many years ago and paying like $8 for a small glass of orange juice. And yet you could go to somewhere like Costco and get a huge gallon of orange juice, or even Walmart or wherever, for that same $8. Over time, you just start to wisen up and you realize that I can't keep up with these high prices. And so that's just with that. So me personally, I used to like to go to Thai restaurants and eat Tom Yum soup. It's a spicy type of soup that you can have chicken, you can have shrimp or beef in it. And I would buy that on a regular basis. And it wasn't overly expensive. However, one day I went to the bookstore and I found a Thai cookbook. And I purchased I found a recipe for Tom Yum. And I started making it myself. And I was able to make myself huge portions of that same dish for less money. And I stopped going to Thai restaurants, just 100%. Simply because, well, I can make it for myself. I can make larger portions. I can get my fill. There were times when I would go to a Thai restaurant and they would barely put, like, I would get the chicken and they would barely put any chicken in it. I could load it up with meat. I could load it up with mushrooms. I could put whatever I wanted in there. I could make it as spicy as I wanted. And so that kind of led me away from going to Thai restaurants. Nothing against Thai restaurants. It's just that making it myself was more cost effective. The same thing I found out, like, if I go to a restaurant to buy a steak, and you may pay like $50 for a steak meal. And yet I could go to Costco, or at least it was at least maybe a month or so ago, I could go to Costco and buy like 4 filet mignons or something like that for like $50, $40. Whereas that would be one piece of meat at a restaurant. Of course, that would be with maybe a baked potato and some sides and stuff like that. But still, I could get 4 pieces of steak for about $40 from Costco, or I could go to a restaurant. And this carries on obviously over into, automobiles. So I buy a car, and as soon as I drive that car off the lot, it depreciates in value. Eventually, it's going to need oil changes. It's going to need tires. It's going to need windshield wipers. It's going to need tune-ups. All of these things cost money. Now, there's certain things that you can't do. I can't make tires on my own, right? I don't make windshield wipers, but I can install windshield wipers on my own and save myself a little bit of money. If I can change the oil on my vehicle, I can save money that way. And I can ensure that I get the highest level or highest quality of oil into my vehicle, and I know what's in my car. I know the condition of my car when I change my oil, versus on one occasion I took my car to one of those in and out oil change places, and I was just being lazy. And the next time when it came for me to change my oil, I get down there, I took the oil filter off and I took it up to the AutoZone or one of those places to get my oil filter, and it didn't match up because that place had put on the wrong filter, and I didn't know. That could have destroyed my truck, and I didn't know, and I paid for that level of service. And it's just unfortunate that you can't guarantee that you're going to get good service just because you pay for it. Obviously, when we move to homes and you look at the fact that You know, homes, they need to be painted on a regular basis. Grout needs to be maintained. I had to snake the kitchen sink the other day because over time buildup happens in the pipes and you have to do that on occasion. It's just basic maintenance, lawn maintenance, all of these things. We have to do this on a continual basis, and the prices for all of these things is going up like all at the same time. Whether it be if you need somebody to tend to your yard, the prices of that goes up because, you know, maybe the person that uses fuel, maybe they're paying more for fuel, maybe they're paying more for labor and help. All of these things, this cost gets passed on to the consumer. You see, I kind of feel like at this time, at this stage, things will be a lot better if we had a different type of society, like where we actually came together and worked together. And let me give you an example of what I mean. Imagine if you lived on a block with, like, say 5 other families, and you guys all together went out and bought, like, you know, Ego lawnmower, the battery powered version, right? And, you know, the most expensive one could be up to about $1,000. But let's say you pay $200 a piece per family, and you guys rotate. You know, one of you cuts on Monday, the other one Tuesday, the other one Wednesday. Now, that doesn't benefit Ego, the company, because they are not selling 5 individual lawnmowers. But on the flip side, when you share costs like that, it's going to actually save you and your family a lot of money. Also, imagine if you have to work on your vehicle, right? I bought a engine hoist for my car so that if I ever have to pull an engine, I have that capability. Imagine if you had a friend that had that capability. If you had a friend that knew how to work on transmissions, if you had a friend that knew how to work on brakes, or how to, you know, like, say for instance, if a tile gets broken, how to fix it, or if there's a hole punched in the drywall, how to repair these things. If we knew people like that in our inner circle, we could save a great deal of money. And I kind of feel like with the prices of everything going up the way that they are, I feel like that's really the way that we're going to get through this. And for me personally, I'm trying to be like a hub of that in of myself. Like, if you don't know how to turn a wrench, if you don't know how to work on a car, then you're not going to be of much use to someone who has automotive issues. Same thing. If you don't know anything about maintaining a home, you're not going to be of any help to someone that owns a home. And so, like, I just feel like for myself, I see the value in being a DIY person because I have seen where it saved me money. I mean, I wouldn't have all the tools that I have in the shop if I wasn't doing DIY. There's no way in the world, even with all the money that I spent in my shop. When you think about, I was watching a video on YouTube and someone, they made the statement that they are no longer debt free. And now it's because they broke down and bought a car. And I think the car that they bought was, you know, at least in the comment, I was reading the comments, and it was saying that they spent like $37,000 on a car. I'm not spending $37,000 on a car. I'm not going to do that. I mean, that doesn't even make sense to me. But from one aspect, it does. If you're a person that doesn't know anything about DIY, right, and you buy a modern vehicle, of course the prices are going to be a lot higher, right? And with the prices being higher, you also don't know how to maintain it. So, like, at least with older vehicles, you could go buy a book and you could learn how to maintain those. With these newer vehicles, you need to know computer coding basically to be able to work on these vehicles. And these vehicles can have proprietary software in them to where you really can't work on your own vehicle, and that is not cool. And so, like, for me personally, I'm like looking at, well, for a while there, I was talking to my wife about getting a motorcycle, of which I'm not going to get due to safety reasons. But I saw that, you know, I would rather spend like 10 grand cash on a brand new motorcycle and go back and forth to work on that than basically spend 10 grand on a used vehicle, right? If I'm going to spend for a used vehicle, because anything used that you buy is going to have some issues, right? And so I would rather have the capacity and the knowledge and the tools to be able to maintain a used vehicle to save me in the long run. Because if I buy, say, a mechanic special style car, and then I take it to some kind of professional to fix it, I might as well just go get borrow money and buy a car, or spend a lot of money to buy a newer car, because I'm going to be out of a ton of money. going that route. So for those that don't know anything about DIY, I understand, debt. I understand being in that position, but I think it's best to meet, to really reach out and meet people that know how to do things so that you can have an easier time in this life. I'm not talking about using people. I'm talking about like, develop some skills in of yourself that you could kind of trade and barter with other people. I mean, it's, try to learn how to use your social time more productively. Like, for me, I think about like, imagine being with one of your friends, and you're like, oh, I need to tune up my car, and you got two people working on it, you and your buddy, or you and a couple buddies, or whatever, because with many hands it makes light work. If we could actually put that into action, a lot of us that are feeling the tightening of the waist as far as economics, I think we could find a little bit of a wiggle spot for ourselves to make it through to, a new day. If we learn how to work together a little bit more, if we learn how to, first develop some skills within ourselves, because you have to have something to barter and trade. Nobody wants to be around someone that's being a leech or someone that's just trying to mooch off of you. It's hard enough to carry your own load, let alone carry someone else's. You want to meet people of like mind. For myself personally, I haven't met anybody like that. I mean, I met people, but most people are looking for someone to take advantage of, someone who's going to do the work for them. And if you're going to be that person to do the work, then, you're going to have a really busy schedule, and you're not going to ever get anything done for yourself because of that. And I'm not an advocate for being selfish or anything like that, because, being a Christian, you're supposed to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. However, I also realize that, there's also a scripture that says bad company corrupts good character. Thus, for you want to make sure you're putting yourself around people that are constructive, productive, people that will challenge you to help you grow, and you could maybe challenge them to help them grow. But what you don't want to be around are people that don't want to grow, people that are stagnant, people that make a mindset of, they're like master delegators. You want to avoid master delegators with all your might, with everything in you, because a master delegator, they're not really thinking about doing better or growing as an individual. Their mind is 100% focused on how to manipulate other people to accomplish their task, to make their life easier. And it's very difficult in life to get anywhere if you're surrounded by a bunch of master delegators. So you want to keep your eyes open for people like that. For me personally, you'll hear me speak about this in the future. I watch the waist of a person. I very rarely listen to what someone says. I watch the waist, because it's kind of a football, basketball type of analogy or way of looking at things. When you watch football, basketball, when people juke, they usually move their head back and forth, and people get deceived and they miss, being able to guard the person or being able to tackle the person in those respective sports. The bottom line is, when someone is talking to you, right? Because there is no law against lying. We're not walking around in a court of law. When you deal with human beings on a one-on-one regular basis, people are under no obligation to tell you the truth. And the art of lying is a tool that people use all the time to try to manipulate other people to get them to lighten their load or to steal resources. And when you watch the waste, people that lie are always trying to lead you, or always trying to guide you and mold you. And there are a lot of people like that. I try my best to stay away from them. I try my best to stay in truth and walk in truth. And that's why, at least if you watch my channel, you'll see it's not really fantastic. Maybe I'm buying a lot of tools. That's one thing. But what I mean is, it's real. Like, one day I'll be in the shop working on on a project. The next day, I might just be doing a talking head because I had other life things to deal with afterwards. Or rather, I had other life things that needed to be taken care of, whether it be I needed to attend to my wife, attend to my kids, whatever. That's real life. A lot of times when you watch YouTube and you see people that have these teams that they have very high production value, very high quality, it takes a lot of things behind the scenes. It's like watching TV or the news. It's not real, right? And for myself, you know, I've been struggling mightily trying to keep this all together, because I want what I show here on YouTube to be as real as it possibly can be. You know, there's a lot of things that I do without to be able to advance myself, to be able to buy the tools that I bought. I mean, I'm driving super old vehicles, right? And then, so you think about the years of savings, with the average car payment being about $700 a month, that's $8,400 or so a year that you could spend on something else. And you got people with multiple car payments. You got people paying double that in car payments. And then you have to tack insurance on top of that. And so we have to be mindful of the fact that we're paying for depreciating assets everywhere. And it's best to buy something that can actually help you move your life forward. Tools help you do that. I was against trucks for so long. And then one day, I realized that my life graduated to the point to where I could use a truck. And it's so much cheaper to own a truck and to be able to haul things when you need to versus having to rent a truck. So many things right now are moving towards this kind of like a continual pay subscription type model. But for right now, we need to try our best to set our eyes on things that it's a one and done purchase. Try to get around people of like mind so that you can kind of see your life move forward and advance, and try to avoid the things that, tempt you to, get in over your head. Debt is not worth it. It really isn't. I understand that, as a country, we're in debt, but at the end of the day, I've been under debt before, and it's very suffocating. It's very uncomfortable. And ever since I got to the point to where I don't have debt like I did in the past, like no credit cards, no loans, no auto loans, it's so nice to know that when I get paid every month or every 2 weeks, most of that money is mine. Most of that money, I could choose to make bad decisions or good decisions, but most of that money is mine. And so I'm very grateful for that. And anyways, guys, I'm just rambling at this point. I want to thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to speak and for listening to my video. And I'll see you in my next one. Take care.